we've had the assassination of Sinwar. There's another illustration, Israel and its decapitation strategy, that what it does with its opponents is knock out the leadership. And it's had a long, long history. You have the example of the decapitation of Al-Qaeda. Who's heard of Al-Qaeda doing much in recent years? We haven't had another 9/11. Does this prove that decapitation works? I think about it and I go, dumb idea. You got rid of Al-Qaeda as a spectacular, and you gave birth to a split in Al-Qaeda called ISIS, Islamic State, that swept all before it in Iraq and Syria, caused a civil war in both countries. Is that proof that decapitation works? What you actually have is a martyr. What you have is a hero who resisted Israeli occupation and paid with it with his life. And I'm told, I don't read Arabic, but I'm told that amongst Sinwar's last remarks was he was quoting from Ali, and his last words, my one wish is that I die for the cause. He's died for the cause. His death, there will be hundreds and hundreds of recruits, not only in Gaza, but also on the West Bank, also in Lebanon, also in Jordan. What we've seen, though, of course, is a shift in terms of the resistance away from al-Fatah, who surrendered, away from leftist organizations like the PFLP and the Democratic Front for the Liberation of Palestine, over to the Islamicists. There's no law there that says that that has to be the case, but clearly resistance is going to take some form. And if the secularists cease resisting, then resistance will look for other avenues. And that isn't something decided by this or that leader. It comes from the objective situation itself, sort of idea that if you get rid of this individual or that individual, you solve it. It's got nothing to do with evil individuals. It's called occupation. It's called colonialism. It's called expansion. It's called oppression. And new people will come and replace old leaders. And if you wanted to negotiate, all I would say is that the people you would choose to negotiate would be people with experience, people who maybe got some gray hair, but also have got political knowledge, aren't there to prove themselves. They've proved themselves. They're the people you want to negotiate with. But clearly Israel doesn't want to negotiate. All this stuff about hostages. Hamas is much more likely to take out 10 or 20 hostages from its tunnels, if they're in tunnels, and I suspect some of them are, take them outside and execute them in revenge for the death of their leader. Now, we haven't had that, but that is much more likely than they hand them over and they say, we surrender. What we have, ironically, I'll put it no stronger than that, is Hezbollah launching off 3 cruise missiles south, targeting one of Netanyahu's 3 houses, and this was his house in Caesarea. 2 drones were shot down, 1 gets through. And what does Netanyahu say? This was a grave mistake. A heavy price will be paid. So what is Israel going to do? Bombard southern Lebanon? Maybe it will bomb southern Lebanon. Maybe it will send some cruise missiles off to knock out Hezbollah leaders in Beirut. Maybe it will send its army and its tanks in to southern Lebanon. They already doing that. What is Israel going to do that it isn't already doing? That, of course, isn't the case yet with Iran, and we don't know. None of us know. Netanyahu presumably does. Joe Biden presumably does, but maybe he doesn't. What Israel actually decides to do in terms of its retaliation. We've got a little black box on the back of our paper saying that the promise is not to attack Iran's nuclear facilities, not to attack its oil facilities. But do you trust Netanyahu? Do you trust Netanyahu in the run-up to the US presidential elections? Because while no doubt Zelensky is praying on his knees for a Harris victory, there can be no doubt that Netanyahu, in his turn, is on his knees praying for a Trump victory, because Trump says none of these crocodile tears. Trump says finish the job. And what I take by finishing the job isn't simply taking out Hezbollah or Hamas leaders. I take this as the second Nakba. I take this as finishing the Palestinian job, taking out Hamas from the south, Gaza, but also the West Bank, by getting rid of the population. Okay, you dump them in Egypt, you dump them in Jordan, but that is something that Netanyahu wants, that's something his coalition partners want, that is something Zionism want. And in the process, what you do, again, the Mr. Evil side of it is you try to take out the Iranian regime. I'm not convinced by their ability to do that. The United States is not going to do the equivalent job to Saddam Hussein. It's a very different kettle of fish compared with Iraq.